Good evening. Imagine you're in a tent, high on a desolate mountain. The wind is a physical force, trying to tear you from the earth. Suddenly, a noise, a pressure, a terror so absolute that you slash your way out into a blizzard with no shoes, no coat, into temperatures that can kill in minutes. What could possibly make you do that? Pull your coat tight. Tonight, we're walking into the heart of that question, into the snow-choked mystery of the Dyatlov Pass. And by the end, you'll have to choose your own explanation, your own monster. Our story begins in January 1959 in the Soviet Union. 9 experienced hikers, mostly students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, set out on a formidable expedition. These were not amateurs. They were hardy, skilled souls, aiming for the highest certification in Soviet winter trekking. Their leader was 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, a respected and cautious outdoorsman. The trek was a grade that features Tsenodis, Fin, maybe the most difficult category, but it was a challenge they were prepared for. Their diaries and photographs from the early days hum with optimism. They capture jokes, songs, and the stark beauty of the Ural Mountains. On January 31st, they reached the edge of the highlands, near a peak the local Mansi people call Kolatsiakhl, the Mountain of the Dead. Here, they built a small storage shelter for excess food and equipment, planning to retrieve it on their return journey. Then they pushed on, but a storm rolled in, and by the 1st of February, worsening weather and near-zero visibility had pushed them off course. Instead of retreating to the safety of the tree line just a mile away, they made a fateful decision. They pitched their tent on the exposed slope of the mountain, digging into the snow for shelter. An odd choice, but a deliberate one, perhaps for training. As night fell, they ate their last meal. Then, silence, swallowed by a sudden, inexplicable panic. When a search party finally reached the site weeks later, they found the tent abandoned and slashed open from the inside. A trail of footprints, some in socks, some barefoot, led away from the tent, down the slope toward the dark tree line. There was no sign of a struggle, no other tracks. The first 2 bodies were found under a large cedar tree, near the remains of a small fire. They were barefoot and dressed only in their underwear. Their hands were torn, the bark on the tree scraped raw, as if they had desperately tried to climb it for a better view, or to escape something on the ground. 3 more bodies, including Dyatlov's, were found between the tree and the tent. Their positions suggested they were trying to crawl back up the slope to the empty shelter. The final 4 hikers were not discovered until May, after the spring thaw revealed their location in a deep ravine, buried under 4 meters of snow, and their injuries were horrifying. Massive internal trauma, crushed ribs and fractured skulls, consistent with the force of a car crash, yet with almost no external wounds. One was missing her tongue. To deepen the mystery, traces of radiation were found on some of their clothing. The official investigation concluded that the hikers died from a compelling natural force, and the case was abruptly closed. So what was it? The explanations range from the plausible to the paranormal. An avalanche seems simple, but investigators found no evidence of a major slide. Perhaps a katabatic wind, a sudden violent blast of air, or infrasound generated by the storm, creating a feeling of irrational panic. Others point to secret military weapons tests, the radiation a telltale sign. Or something more primal. An encounter with the local Mansi tribe, or even a Yeti. In 2019, Russian officials reopened the case, concluding that a small, delayed slab avalanche was the most likely culprit. The theory goes, a slab of snow slid onto the tent, causing the initial severe injuries and forcing the panicked, underdressed escape. The cold and a subsequent fall into the ravine did the rest. It's a sensible explanation. It fits many of the facts. But sensible doesn't quiet the night, and it doesn't explain everything. Here's what I think is the most logical sequence of events. In the dark, with the wind screaming, a slab of snow shifts, partially collapsing the tent and injuring some of the hikers inside. Trapped and terrified, they cut their way out and flee to the relative shelter of the tree line. They try to start a fire. They share clothing with those who have less. Some attempt a heroic, fatal return to the tent for supplies. In the darkness and confusion, the last four stumble into the ravine, the fall compounding their initial injuries. It was a tragedy of ordinary forces, snow, wind, and gravity, perfectly, horribly misaligned. And yet, even with a logical answer, those barefoot footprints in the snow still feel like a question mark hanging in the frozen air. 9 experienced hikers went into the mountains and never came back. A slab avalanche, a military secret, or something else entirely? The pass keeps its secrets. If you enjoy exploring enduring mysteries, subscribe for more. And let us know in the comments, what do you think really happened on that mountain?